And music. Welcome back to Everyday Talks with Aiko and Psycho. Today's news events are current events going on. Sorry, I took your intro. I'm so tired.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you for joining us today, Sunday, May 8th. And today we're going to be discussing a couple things. Dinesh D'Souza's done a movie, 2000 Mules, touching on voter fraud. So Aiko and I plan on watching that movie, and we're going to do an in depth episode this week regarding our review of it. Um, and today we're also going to be talking about a few other things. So, what we would really love for you to do is hit that like button. Come on, give us that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that reminder bell from when we drop new content. Go ahead, take it away, Aiko.
All right, so let's start off with the fun one that's going on through everybody's minds, and that the left is absolutely losing their shit about Elon Musk buying Twitter because the free speech rights in the Constitution cannot be taken away. And I will quote this. This is from the Constitution itself. All laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void, which means if it goes against the Constitution or threatens the freedoms of the Constitution or anything of the such in any way, it is null and void. It is not acceptable. They cannot pass it. You do not have to follow it. End of story. The Constitution is the ultimate law. So therefore, freedom of
Absolutely.
speech overrules everything else. The fact that they want to censor you is an issue. It doesn't matter what they're censoring you about, unless, of course, it would be something like a pornographic issue or something going on, which is a real thing. In that case, yes, please do censor me if I'm stupid enough to do
So
something like that. But that being said, that's
we're going into. Are we going into pornography? We could already start talking about
no,
Hunter
no, no,
Biden's.
no. I was well. We can bring that up as well. Let's do that. I was saying, like, as an overall, like, there are some things that, yes, I understand that, social media sites and stuff have a right to, like, ban you for using and stuff, and pornography is a good example. The whole point is we don't want to spread that to people on the platform that are of a younger generation and such, because they don't need to be seeing that until they're older anyway. So yeah, let's get into Hunter Biden's laptop and how his password was apparently anal f 69, since I'm trying not
Oh,
to get us
just say the whole
censored.
word. It's
Well, no,
anal fuck
because
69. That's his password.
it's
That's
funnier when
our
you
that's
say it
our president.
'cause you
That's
get
our
real into it.
president. Anal fuck 69, because that is what Hunter Biden is worried about. I can't with that. Now, there's all kinds of talk. I guess the owner of the shop is suing CNN and Adam Schiff, and let's delve into that a little bit, shall we?
Yeah, let's talk about that. What do you know about that?
I'm not. Well, I thought we just talked about that. Yeah, he's just
Yes.
suing them.
Well, yeah, because the FBI is in the pocket of the Democrats, and the Democrats want to shut everything down that they don't agree with, which again goes against the constitutional rights given to us. And here's the thing: I just want to point out, if again, and I probably stated this in the last one, if the right side loses their constitutional freedoms, the left side needs to realize that they do too. You cannot be this stupid to get rid of your own freedoms and just expect that because you voted for them, they give a shit about you. They don't. That's the whole point of this. That's why they make millions of dollars and have these mansions and stuff when it should not be a career, except that you make enough to live on and you actually put the rest back towards the American people, which you are supposed to do. Before we
Yeah,
paid
and it's
taxes, we didn't have this issue.
that they have $25 million mansions. But when they have multiple mansions on, I don't know, how much are they supposed to be making? Like $170,000 a year.
Maybe about
Come on.
250 at most, I would say, depending on how your role is and how good you are at it. Maybe 250,000. They're making millions or even billions. That should not be happening. That right
You
there
should,
is money
yeah.
laundering, which is illegal.
You definitely shouldn't go to DC with zero nickels to rub together and come out rich as all get out. There's no way that should be happening when you are working for we the people.
Agreed.
Yeah, that should absolutely not happen.
Your audio, by the way, does sound a little different on my end. So, if you got
Oh
further away
goodness!
from
Well,
your phone or something.
I hope everybody can hear me. I'm on my phone and I just got a call come through that I had to put to. Might be part of the problem.
Okay, now it sounds
Um,
better. So yeah, it probably was the call. Okay, but yeah, go back to what you were saying though.
um, I forgot what I
If
was
anybody
saying. I'm
lives
not
in
gonna lie.
DC or goes to DC for that, they should not come
Yeah.
out a millionaire.
No, they definitely should not be coming back a millionaire. Not in any way, shape, or form. They shouldn't. And I'm sorry, when you're talking about climate change and rising water levels, and you're buying $25 million mansions that are oceanfront, I have a hard time believing in your. Hi, Jordan. My son is listening. Hi, Jordan.
Awesome.
I have a hard time of believing that you're really worried about climate change. When you build a mansion in Hawaii on a tiny island, I have a problem believing in your climate change. I'm having a really difficult time when you're telling me I got to reduce my footprint while you're flying in private jets and having cavalcades of 20 SUVs taking you from spot to spot.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing in your climate
Yeah,
change.
I have a hard
When
time
you
believing they care about me at all when they spend trillions and billions and millions of dollars on themselves and or give it to other countries when we
oh
are
yeah, yeah,
currently in need. Our border crisis is ridiculous. No other freaking country will just let someone in, including Americans, by the way. They won't let Mexicans in either. They won't let any of these people that are undocumented illegal aliens into their country freely. And yet America's got
yeah.
its doors wide open.
Speaking of the border crisis, when we're looking at what's happening at the border, I mean, there are Texas farmers that are finding corpses in their on their properties from these illegal migrants, and you could call it what you want. This is not legal immigration. Legal
No, it's not.
immigration, there's a process to it. This is an southern invasion,
Hmm.
and that sounds super alarming, and you should be when we have tens of thousands illegally crossing the border every day, when we have cavalcade after cavalcade fighting cops and the military in Mexico to get here.
Yep.
I just read another article where they know that we have known terrorists that have come over our southern border, and now they're in the interior of the United States doing God only knows what, getting ready to do whatever. And we have no thumb on it. We have no knowledge, no clue. All we know is that they are here,
Yep.
and we're going to end up with situations like they've had in Europe and Spain, where they've derailed trains and things like that, where they attack subways. Come
Yeah.
on now,
Let's also
wake
point out
up.
that they want to get rid of Social Security for veterans and whatnot to give to the illegal aliens. They are
Oh
not
no, it's not.
undocumented or anything.
No, it's not Social Security for veterans. What they're trying to do is the money used for veteran health care, they're trying to take that and push that over to these illegal migrants.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Social Security, but we can talk about Social Security because that was money that our government wasn't supposed to be able to touch, and they have invaded that fund. And now they tell us that there's not going to be enough Social Security. Well, why not? When people are working and there's more people than there were before working,
Yeah.
then and that Social Security is supposed to be untouchable, yet somehow they've touched it. And they find these loopholes and they find ways to screw we the people over. We keep voting these yahoos in.
Right. That's my favorite thing about the people that flee their own freaking state is they go to another state and they vote these same morons in expecting a different outcome, and then that entire state goes to shit. Thank you very much, leftist morons, for doing that in all these other states.
Right. They're
But
leaving California right now. They're leaving California in droves and going over to Texas.
yeah, and they're trying to vote the same Democrat pieces of crap into leadership there in the hopes that it's just going to be better there. That's not how it works. If you vote the same people in, expect the same BS. It's not going to change anything if you keep voting for the same thing. It doesn't
Right.
matter what they promise. If they haven't actually done anything, you should be questioning them. None of these
Right.
Democrats have actually followed up on any of their promises. Let me just point out that Joe Biden, during the elections and everything, went to each and every group, the LGBT community, the blacks, the whites, to everybody, and he told every single group, basically, not literally these words, but basically he told every group, "You're the only ones I care about. I love you guys so much. Fuck everyone else. No one else matters. You are my top priority." Then he goes to the next group. "You guys mean the world to me. You are my absolute top of the list. I'm going to do everything I can for you. Screw all those other guys." Goes to the next group and repeats and
Yeah.
repeats and repeats. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
And not a damn
Well,
soul seems to see it. They're like, "Oh, he loves each and every person." That's not what he said. He said,
47
"Screw
years.
everyone else, love you." Then went to the next group, told them, "Screw them
Yeah.
and everyone else, but I love you."
Yep, he spent 47 years in DC and accomplished absolutely nothing other than putting black people in jail for longer terms for lesser crimes, i.e., marijuana. It was absolutely unjust and unfair. That's the only thing he's ever accomplished. In fact, when he was vice president under Obama, I had no idea who Joe Biden was. I didn't even know he was our vice president. If you would have asked me 10 years ago who's Joe Biden, I would have had no idea because he literally did not stand out in any way. You
Honestly,
know,
yeah.
I don't know about like Newt Gingrich and things like that, but not Joe Biden. And he's absolutely, oh God, he's worse than useless. He's like gum stuck to a sidewalk. I'm like, that's my best description of Joe Biden.
There you go.
Not a fan. You can't do anything with it. Now it's stuck on your shoe. Like, what do you do?
There you go. He's like one of those really lame tattoos of that people get when they like prank someone else and they get the giant turd tattooed on them, and there's literally now nothing you can do to take it off.
Yeah. Lord have mercy. Hey, I mean, just pray for this country at this point, because I
Amen.
$4.40 a gallon for gas up here. What are you guys paying down there in Florida?
Three something to four something, I believe. I was gonna get gas today, so I would have been able to tell you, but I'm getting it after work tomorrow, so I don't remember. I kind of just drove home today. I was exhausted, but
Yeah,
I
so
think it's up
we've
in the
got
fours.
high gas prices. I just paid for a dozen and a half of eggs, $3.40 to round it.
Yeah,
I think it's like 336 or 337 for a dozen and a half of large eggs, Walmart brand.
yeah. Let's
Um,
also point out that all of you morons who think that the government is not that this is not because of what the government has done, you're a bunch of idiots. This is not the Russia. This is not Russia. Russia is not in charge of our gas. We do get a lot from them right now, but it is because he shut down the Keystone pipeline that we are having this crisis with gas right now and why oil prices and everything are so high. And we quote unquote have a oil crisis on our hands literally just because of that. If we had had that pipeline, we would have been getting about double the amount we are getting from Russia for practically free in comparison. Gas prices would be at the Trump levels and everything. I mean, hey, uh, raise your hand if you want low gas prices and a couple mean tweets, because the orange skinned
yeah,
man
my
was an
hand is up.
asshole.
My hand is up.
Shoot.
I'm telling you, and when we look at these gas prices, I'm like, Russia's the bad guy, right? We all have to believe Russia's the bad guy in this whole thing, but yet we're still buying our oil from Russia, and instead we've chose to make war on the Russian people because clearly they run the government there. We make war on them instead. We cut off their food, we cut off their money, and we're just like, oh, screw you. And then we wonder why
But
they
hey,
don't like us.
let me bring this to your opinion because it just made me think of it. Did we
Of
really do
course.
that, or did they just tell you that we did that? Because we're funding both sides of this war. We're giving them millions or billions of dollars like a day for oil and gas. And we're also just sending Ukraine billions of dollars too. We're
Yeah, we're just
funding
over
both
here
sides.
supporting. We're supporting the Turkestan pipeline. And instead of pumping our own oil and using our reserves, we're paying a small fortune. And they gave us that little tiny break in the gas prices. And then all of a sudden just boosted them back up again. So you feel like the government's doing something great for you for giving you 10 cents off per gallon. And then they raise it another 40. It makes absolutely no sense. Gas up here went overnight 50 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
It's beyond insane. And we got those record increases in Social Security. We got a 5.9% COLA increase on SSI and Social Security. Once that increase went through, now you're paying more for gas, more for food, more for your utilities, more for everything because the cost of everything is now going up.
Yeah.
And just like the last time gas prices increased, your jar of peanut butter might have stayed the same price, but you got less. So technically, you're paying more because of all the extra costs induced in just shipping it when they can manage to ship it now. Because I've never ever seen where we've had a shipping crisis.
Right. Then let's also point out that we only actually import about 11% of our goods from any other country. We grow most of our own here. Let's also talk about this. Because gas prices are so high, that is one of the biggest reasons that food is so costly. And I had seen a post on this, and it was this lady that owns a farm, and she's standing by her tractor, and she goes, you people realize that it is exactly because of our government and our president shutting down the pipeline and raising gas prices and doing all this crazy crap that food is expensive, right? Because it used to cost me about 20 to 30,000 to fill up a year on gas and to do all my crops. Now, thanks to the gas prices being so high, it's costing me close to, if not over, 100 grand. I mean, just her prices, just for her pointing it out, have quadrupled to quintupled or sextupled. They have skyrocketed, and so of course now she has to sell her crops for a far higher price just to pay for the gas and everything else that she has to deal with, which means that they have to sell the food at a higher price because
Just
they still need to sell it.
just to clarify, how excited were you to be able to use the word sextuple in a sentence?
Not very excited, honestly. I know it's a number that represents like you got million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion, centillion, sextillion, octillion, whatever it is for 9, and decillion for 10.
You said sextillion. That's all I
Having
got.
sex is sextillion times. It'll take you forever. What's up, Nacho?
Hey, Nacho, got both my. Hey, Nacho, Jordan's listening live as well. Wave at each other.
Heck
Thanks for joining us. We were just
yeah.
talking about the rising price of food and goods. And also, I just kind of wanted to mention how hard it was for me to find elbow macaroni. I
Are you
literally, every time
serious?
I went to one, they had zero elbow macaroni. Um, yeah, I finally found some at Aldi, but yeah, like you go to the pasta aisle at the Walmart up here and you can't find any pasta.
Jeez.
Like,
You know what?
wow.
That's the ice cream aisle for the Walmart here. Because I went shopping for like shirts and stuff, and I ended up going, hey, you know what? I could use some ice cream. Like all the shelves are empty. I'm
Oh
like, what the
no.
heck? Like
No,
there were a few things here and there, random things. Oh yeah, hey, we forgot to say Happy Mother's Day actually. Happy Mother's
oh,
Day to
happy
everybody
Mother's Day
that
to
is a
all the
mother.
mothers out there listening. Glad to have you join us. Don't forget to hit that subscribe bell so you'll be
Hmm.
notified when we drop new content. Don't forget to like and share.
Indeed.
And subscribe. Y'all subscribe because we've
Absolutely.
got things to talk about. And we're going to talk about it all. In fact, later this week, we're going to be reviewing Dinesh D'Souza's new movie out. It's about election fraud.
2000
And it's
Mules.
from 2000, yep, 2000 Mules. And we're going to be watching that this week. And we are going to give it a good review and hopefully hook y'all up with some links to watch this movie yourselves and make a decision on whether you believe in election fraud or not. And I want to reiterate why we're doing this, that this is all opinion. We
Yes.
provide what little bit of sources we can. But for the most part, this is an op-ed. We are not saying anything is true or not true. We're
Yes.
just telling you our take on it.
But please remember that no matter which side you are on, right or left, to do actual research, don't just listen to the one news station or the two even that you listen to. Get online, research the stuff, figure things out for yourself. Don't let
Dig
somebody
deep.
else tell you what you can and cannot think. And I will say, in my opinion, that's my issue with the left is you idiots forcing your beliefs on me and saying that
Which
I have
I
no right
think
to
is
believe
very-
differently, see things differently, think differently, etc., etc. Because that's an issue for me. And that's why I'm
Well,
going to call you idiots.
first off, we if we have liberal people listening to our show, we should not be calling them idiots.
No, in
We
that
really,
scenario, I will say that they are. In that
yeah,
is that scenario. Otherwise, you know what? You're all we're all human. But here's the thing: don't
yeah,
force your beliefs on me. If you want to have a discussion, let's have a discussion. I
absolutely,
am
yeah.
absolutely willing to chat about
Don't
things, figure
get
things
that
out.
throat.
Let's come to an
Yeah,
agree to disagree if it comes down to that. It doesn't need to be a
yeah,
fight. You don't need to beat me over the head with your beliefs. I'm not going to beat you over the head with mine. But if you want to discuss how we see things, let's discuss it. Let's be civilized humans like we
yes.
are and chat.
Absolutely. And that honestly is the way that it should be, but it's literally gotten to the point where, everything is misinformation. And I do know that they've started the Ministry of Truth over in DC, the Ministry of Truth. So basically what they want to do is
They
tell
want to
you
send
what
us
you
all the
can and
disinformation
can't
and tell
think.
us that we can't. Yeah.
And, and nowhere has a Ministry of Truth been successful for the opposing side. When we talk about Hitler had a ministry of truth, I'm sure we all know what happened to the people who spoke against Hitler and what he was doing, and it didn't go well for them. When you're looking at that and you only have one side telling you what the truth is,
Hmm.
that's a problem. That
Yeah.
that that leaves no open discussion, and that, my friends, is not Russian disinformation. That's fact. If you cannot have your own thoughts and think things and say things, then we've reverted to a society where we might as well just take clubs and start hitting each other.
Ooh, which reminds me of a little post I saw because not about free speech necessarily as much as right to bear arms. It says if your government is trying to take away your right to bear arms, it is because they plan on doing something you would shoot them for.
Yeah,
If they take away your guns, you can't shoot them. You can't fight back. You can't take a stand. You cannot do anything.
our founding fathers provided us with that right to bear arms. It's our Second Amendment of the Constitution, and it is so that we can defend ourselves against tyranny. And it clearly states that in the Constitution.
Yeah, let's look that
And
up real
and the
quick. Let's
fact
see.
is, yeah, and look at what
Second.
happened in Australia. They handed their guns to their government, and then during the COVID lockdown, they suffered some of the worst lockdowns. I think they're still locked down. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. And let's talk about in Canada what Trudeau is doing to the truck drivers that participated in that movement and the people who supported it. If you contributed financially to the truckers, they're shutting down your banks and trying you for like
Hmm.
terrorism. It's absolute insanity when you're watching it happen in real time where your voices are being muffled. We should be able to speak out against our governments. That
Yeah,
is our fundamental rights.
exactly.
Now, now, if you speak out against the Biden administration, you're a dissident. And well, a dissident I may be, but at the end of the day, when our government is doing something wrong, we the people have the right to speak it out. And we're allowed
Yeah.
to have opinions and we're allowed to share them. And that's just a fundamental human right. That's not something our government should determine whether or not we can do.
Right. And let us state again that this is a government by the people, of the people, for the people. We rule them, not the other way around. They are not in charge of us. They don't make the rules. We do. If we stand up and enough people do, which is exactly what we need to kick their asses out, put them in jail where they belong, and free this country and keep our freedoms. Our freedoms
We
are
need
here so
term
that we
limits.
have freedom. Without these rights that we have, you will have no freedom. There is no freedom in socialism slash communism, because that's exactly what
Yeah.
socialism leads to.
Yeah, and we need term limits. They all should be term limited. Like how many terms they can serve. We do not need people like Joe Biden in there for 47, 48, 49 years.
Hmm.
People like Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, I guess, is so elderly. She's having like serious health issues while in office. How is she serving her constituents if she's that in bad of shape? Yeah, it's absolutely unacceptable that they're in this position for 50 plus years
Hmm.
and they're worth billions. They go in worth pennies and they come out worth billions. Term limits are the key to all of this and stopping the lobbying, the big tech, big pharma, and the
Hmm.
big money that they put into these campaigns. Because you got to remember, we touched on this last episode. Once these people get into office, they're not working for you. They only work for you while they're in campaign. When they're out of campaign, what they're working for next is to get the money to campaign again.
Yep.
That has to end. That has to end. While they're there, they need to be working for you.
Yeah. Because they do.
Sure.
If ever you see them come in, like that picture showing or a video or both of Joe Biden telling a construction worker that you work for me, no, no, asshole, you work for him. He owns you
Absolutely.
basically because we run the government. The government does not run us. If the government runs
Well,
you, there's a problem. There's a big
well,
problem.
we're supposed to be in charge, but we're not. But you got to remember, we may be many, but they have more. Meaning they have the money and the power, and all we have is numbers. And
Okay,
when
but
it comes
have you
down
ever seen
to
Bug's Life?
that, a bug's life.
Yeah, I keep seeing it pop up on like the big right pages because it's the part where the locusts or grasshoppers are talking to one another, and then the boss, whatever his name was, he goes, "You, yeah, one puny ant. That's all it takes is one person, and then if all of them stand up, we are done for." We are done if enough of them stand up. And that's exactly true.
Yeah,
We have numbers. That's the point. Money don't mean shit against a billion people with their guns. Your money doesn't mean shit. You can't use it when you're dead. If it comes down to
that's
that,
all.
I'm not saying it's going to, but it could. There are plenty of people willing to take up the next civil war, and I will
I'm sure there
absolutely
are.
stand on the right side of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, we do have to look at that. We've got to get people to start working together because if we can't work together, what we're going to do is we're all going to go down together. So
Right.
either way, we can either stay up and rise higher or we're just going to fall to our knees to our government. And I'm not getting on my knees to anybody.
I
Period. And
agree.
I will not worship this government. And this is what this government is wanting is they are the almighty and we are the not.
Yeah.
And if they have us beaten down to the point where we think we're nothing, but with those numbers does come an amount of power. But we're also looking at the numbers that happened in Canada with the number of people that supported those truckers and the number of truckers that joined in that cavalcade and what the power did, the government. is came down on them and took their money and that little bit that they had and squashed them. They squashed them like bugs. And at the end of the day, we cannot allow that to happen here. And they use these loopholes to hurt you. We need to get these loopholes so they can't hurt us anymore. They can't do the things that they're doing. These lockdowns were unconstitutional. When you're looking at a virus with a 99.9% survival rate for most age categories except for the severely elderly, that dropped down to 99.7%. We look at those numbers and we locked down and we went 14 days to flatten the curve to where are we at now, like 18 months? 18 months to flatten the curve. Enough is enough. They've destroyed this country
Mhm.
in the name of COVID. It's unacceptable.
Absolutely. And there's always a bigger narrative to things, like the fact that let us all remember that Pfizer's data is released, and the numbers and the
Read it.
backdraws and everything to the COVID vaccine developed by them are deadly dangerous. They are horrifying. You know, it, and it's out there, the official documents. And as soon
You
as they
want
were released, we
everybody?
went into this Ukraine and Russia bullshit because they were sweeping it under the rug.
Yep.
And our administration and our government has started this war, is funding both sides, and is posting that on every freaking platform. And now they're posting Elon Musk at Twitter. In the long run, you should give a shit about the other stuff going on. If you've taken the
Absolutely.
Pfizer vaccine and you've taken their extra vaccines, let's talk about the fact that I believe I saw that the Johnson and Johnson vaccine was recalled for major health
Again,
issues.
again, because it's
Again,
not the first time. They changed it. They changed it. Johnson and Johnson got recalled in the beginning, and then they changed their name to Janssen, and then still started pouring that poison into people's systems.
mhm,
But at the end of the day, we need to look at the fact that mRNA therapies are not meant for vaccination.
no,
And Dr. Robert Malone, Malone, look him up. He's the one who created mRNA technologies, and he can tell you what it's for, and you won't like it.
yep, agreed.
And I look him up. I do the research, follow through, and see what he's saying about his own technology that he created.
Yeah,
And he's been banned on Twitter and every other social media platform for speaking out.
right.
That's
Which
scary.
actually, if Elon Musk, if you ever hear this, please put him back on Twitter. Thank you for buying the
Please,
company.
please. And Elon Musk, don't forget, we would love to be sponsored by you.
Or even just have you on our show if you would like to discuss
Yeah.
things.
Or just say hi in the comments if you ever hear us say hi, psycho. Yes, absolutely. So I'm a fan of Elon Musk. I will say,
Absolutely.
you know, I thought he was a lot younger. I'm not gonna lie. I really did. I did not realize he was also in his 50s. I just aged myself. It's not good. He's in my age category. I was a little stunned. I was
You know that
absolutely
he
stunned.
sleeps at friends' houses and at the factory and almost never does anything except for work? He
My
himself
Lord have
admitted that
mercy.
to an interview that I was watching. I might be the tiniest bit off on that because it's been a few days since I had watched it, but I watched it twice because I was like, wait, what? I was like, dang, he puts in effort. He is a hard worker and
Elon-
a genius. And I love that
Yes.
Twitter, when he bought it, the people working for Twitter, not only did they quit
Oh,
because they're so far left, but they were also like, ha, this genius is never going to figure out an algorithm to shut down people's tweets. I'm like, this genius built Tesla up from the ground and makes some of the most advanced stuff, is a literal rocket scientist pretty much, and stuff, has some of the greatest achievements and
yeah.
inventions in history. You think that he's not going to be able to crack your code when a rocket scientist basically needs to know code to program and
Well,
do all the stuff that he does?
and the government's touting the electric vehicles. You got to buy a very expensive electric vehicle because they don't want you to use gas anymore. And they're not talking about Tesla. They've like literally inched him out, and they're really trying to bring him down. And Elon, one thing I want to say to you as a person who used to work her ass off is that All work and no play will make Elon a dull boy. Just putting that one out there. You take some time for yourself so you don't get the big burn.
Oh, and thank you to all leftists who hate that he bought Twitter for purchasing his cars if you own one and making it possible for him to buy Twitter.
Oh gosh. And then speaking of that, I do want to point out I did read another article where it stated that I think it was 99% of Twitter employees actually don't donate to the DNC. So there's that. And they shouldn't be afraid of change or of voices that don't agree with their own. You should never be afraid of something that's different because you might learn something. And I'm always open to talking to somebody with liberal views just simply
Yeah.
because I want to know where you're coming from. I want to understand. So absolutely share that with me. Just don't call me a misogynist or a racist while you're doing it. We should be okay because I know bad words too.
And just for the record, we're not homophobic or anything because that implies the fact that we're afraid of you, and we're not. Just, and I'm only using the term homophobic in this case because whatever other phobics that people label us as, you're all a bunch of idiots. You clearly don't know what a phobia is, aka a fear, and I'm not afraid of you. I'm not.
Weird
I'm not in
phobia.
fear of you. It's not a phobia. It's not a phobia. I'm not homophobic. I'm not transphobic. I'm not government phobic or whatever other words there are phobic. I'm arachnophobic.
I'm afraid of fish. I'm terrified of fish. Absolutely. Goldfish, you name it. Any kind of fish, some beta fishes, all fish scare the daylights out of me. I'm terrified of fish. That's a
Spiders, I
true
don't like.
phobia.
I don't
I
like
am
spiders.
terrified of fish. Absolutely. But when we're talking about like genders and things like that, let's talk about women's rights and how hard women had to work to get where we've gotten to break those glass ceilings in sports and business. And
Hmm.
then now we have men who identify as women participating in women's sports and blowing our records out of the water. It's not fair to women. Women are
Hmm.
missing out on scholarships and awards for women's sports because they're participating against men.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
And
Gender is important.
someone
It
was
is.
videoing the swim team when that with the whatever his name is that's pretending to be a woman and swim against them and beat them and clearly win because he's got the superior skill in it, and he does. We have to admit that because in a lot of ways it is very true. Men are geared towards a more physical fitness peak than women are naturally capable of reaching, and they can. Women can reach it. They can. They absolutely can. But it is also known that it takes them longer and a lot longer than it would take a man to achieve that goal.
Because our
They
physiology is different. Our
exactly
physiology, although we're all human, our physiology between male and female is different. It's like that with pretty much any mammal.
right.
Women and men are different. Male and female are different. Our bodies do different things. They can do they can handle so much. Like women are rock stars when it comes to pain. Men
Yeah.
are big babies. When it comes to that, women can handle pain, but men have greater stamina and strength. And that comes from your physiology, where our stamina and strength comes from being able to bear pain. And when it goes that way, we do need to look at that and say, well, then maybe we need to have sports specifically for transgender. you know
Agreed.
i I haven't heard, honestly, very few women going into men's sports. There's some girls that do wrestling and things like that, or want to play football, but that's mainly because they don't have women-only teams.
Right.
So they are participating in men's sports, but a lot of them aren't identifying as male to do that. So perhaps we should start a transgender teams to make it fair to all the participants, not just the ones. I
Absolutely
mean,
agreed.
when you're blowing women's records out of the water, but you were born male, that's not fair to women.
Right.
Period. And my generation worked hard to break glass ceilings. The generation before me, those women worked hard to break the glass ceilings. We literally have only been allowed to vote for about 100 years now.
Hmm.
I mean, we've only been able to vote, hold our own property Yeah. We're still
Yeah.
fighting, to be equals in business and fighting against gender discrimination.
Yeah,
And
but
here we
apparently
are.
people are saying you need to be a biologist officially now because that's where that video ended up going. Was the person having the argument was like, "Well,
Yeah.
no, that's a woman." It's like, "No, it's not. That is a man." It's like, "Oh, well, are you a biologist?" No, but I'm a veterinarian, and I damn well know when it's a dog or a cat is a male or female. I was like, "Yes, boom."
It went, I don't have to be a veterinarian to know a dog.
It's
You
not
know,
about knowing it's a dog, but it's
yeah,
the gender thing. It's like this is you get taught this in first grade, or you used to. Sorry, you used to be taught this. And if the science agrees for the vaccine, then the science still agrees for genders. One, there's two genders. It's male and female, and it's based on your chromosomes, not just your parts, but your parts play an enormous role in that. You can't change your chromosomes, which means that if you get anything cut off or added on, it doesn't matter. You're still whatever you were born as. God does not make mistakes. You're a man or a woman. Sorry, my opinion. There you have it. You can hate me all you want, but yeah, that about there was something else I was gonna say, but I forgot. I went
that's
on a bit of a
okay.
tyrant there.
Well, if it comes back, just put it in there. And I'm super excited, not to change the subject or anything off that, but I think we've touted on that quite long enough. But I'm really excited to watch Dinesh D'Souza's 2000 Mules. I'm
Agreed.
super pumped to watch it. I've been looking forward to this one coming out for months now. And if you don't follow Dinesh D'Souza, you probably should. He's got some interesting things to say. Start listening to other voices. So, get off the mainstream and get into to the other ones and start listening. And a lot of these people have some great insight. And
Hmm.
again, if you hear something you're not sure, look it up
And read
and
several
research it.
sources.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't believe one voice.
Hmm.
Believe many.
It's like the
And there's a
people
lot
that
of
believed
voices.
that everything that was put on the internet was had to be real because you can't lie on the internet.
And speaking of election fraud, I did want to point out that a small article had come out. I caught that on my Facebook news feed. That the Michigan State Police are actually looking into the allegations of election fraud 2 years later.
Yeah, of course it's 2 years later.
Well,
It's
and we're
it's
getting
always
we're
late.
getting and we're getting almost to the point now where most of these ballots can be destroyed. And it's really unfortunate, and hopefully they can stop that and really start looking at what happened during this election so it never happens again. If there was election fraud, I'm not saying there was, I'm not saying there wasn't. I'm
Well,
just
I will
saying,
say Bernie Fritz made a good point.
let
He
me
made
finish. But my point,
yeah.
I wanted to finish this, but I'm just saying it's hard for me to believe that Joe Biden beat Obama's numbers. It really is, when he never went out and campaigned. And when he did, he had
Agreed.
many, many, many empty chairs. Yet Trump was out there and he was packing stadiums.
That's a fair point. Let's also point out
Yeah.
that like Trump was beating him in droves, and during the time when these ballots were closed at about 3 in the morning, and
Yep.
Bernie Fritz even pointed out. He goes, "Yeah, Trump's winning right now, but just watch overnight. Nah, he's gonna be winning. It's absolutely gonna be Biden. He's gonna be skyrocketing and winning. How? They're closed. The votes should have been tallied up for what they were. He can't skyrocket at 3 in the morning. You can't beat him at 3 in the morning. They're closed. It's done."
They're supposed to be. They were supposed to be. We had instances in Michigan and in Macomb County or Detroit, whatever you want to call it, where they weren't letting the ballot watchers in
Mm,
to watch them doing the ballots. They wouldn't let them in. They even covered the windows with cardboard so they couldn't see any of it.
see,
I mean, obviously there was some fishy things going on, some things that were inappropriate, and that do need to be addressed. I'm like, when things like that are happening, it does not instill a sense of trust.
Agreed.
And, we can't have things like that happening. But, I wanted to also point out while watching the election, I was watching the results on the news, Fox News, which is CNN light to me. I'm not a fan, but I was
Yeah.
watching the numbers in certain states. And although Trump was leading as far as votes, they were calling it for Joe Biden.
Yep.
I didn't know the news was psychic.
Oh, don't forget that the I think it's the Navy who were across the seas like an entire day ahead or behind or whatever it was, pointed out that before it was officially released in America, they had already elected Biden into office before he was supposed to. They did the whole ceremony and everything, and they were
That's
able to
right.
watch it before he was legally actually supposed to be president.
I never heard that.
Yeah,
That's interesting, and that's definitely something I'll have to follow through and look up because I'm kind of curious.
yeah. It was the
Yeah.
Navy or something, but the people across seas pointed out that they
All
saw
right.
it ahead of time, like couple days or so before it was officially supposed to happen. And here's another thing. Let's point out that like Joe Biden's live videos and stuff, a lot of them have already been proven to be fake. That it's a
Oh,
green screen and stuff, which means it's already been videoed. He's not actually where he says he is, and in some cases you can tell based on a couple like off-putting on the screen.
yes, yeah. I've seen a lot of that. They're calling it CGI. I've seen a lot of different things. The whole thing's just completely fishy.
Yeah.
He gets away with things they would have never let Donald Trump get away with. And again, let's talk about hypocrisy
Hmm.
in dealing with stuff like that. I'm like, it's complete hypocrisy. Like, come on. If Don Jr. had a laptop like Hunter Biden's, give me a break. Or let's talk about the diary, because the diary too. It was Biden's niece had a diary. It was horrific. What I heard about it, I never read it or anything. I just heard about it, and I heard it was pretty rough. I don't know. My opinion, I tend to believe it. I'm like, why would she write that in her diary if it wasn't true?
Right. She was
But
writing about apparently being molested by Joe Biden himself
that's scary.
and other family members.
Now I would believe that just simply because of all the people he sniffed. And didn't he lick somebody's hand
I mean,
during that?
there's literally video evidence of him standing behind like a little girl and pinching her
Oh, yeah.
nipple.
What?
Yeah. I don't know if you can still find that because I think it blew up for like a few hours to a day, and I happened to see it. I think on a certain app that I send you information on. I'm not going to name it mostly because I want to protect their interests right
Yes,
now.
yes. You see the
And that
video? You can't do that with your own two eyeballs on a video?
yeah, it was either a video or it
Oh,
was a picture that I saw talking about that someone had snapped about it, talking about that it was a video. So
that's
I
disgusting. That's
if
absolutely
I
disgusting.
still have it on there, I like most of the stuff that I see on there that's informative to me or that
Oh,
I want to
yes.
challenge and look up and figure out the information on, so I can at least like get an idea for myself. Like I said, I'm doing the same thing
Absolutely.
I'm telling all of our viewers. Don't just get it from one source, get it from several. You know, go through
Absolutely.
things, look things up, find out the information for yourself. Don't just land on one thing and stick to it. You gotta be
And
your own person.
we, the people, need to start researching on how to set term limits for our Congress and Senate
Oh, that's
so they
easy.
can't serve
We need to vote it in. We need
term.
to make it happen. Enough people. You just
We
need it
need to
more.
find an alternate way to do it. There's got to be, if they have loopholes, we have loopholes. We need to find a way to end the career. They shouldn't be making careers in DC. They should literally be going in and coming out after a couple terms. This shouldn't be happening anymore. And I also want to take this moment to say, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like this video and hit that reminder bell so you're notified when we drop new content, because we're about to get loud and in charge of what is it, loud, proud, and something. I can't remember, but
I can't
we're
either.
about to. Yeah, it's okay. But next episode we are going to be talking about 2000 Mules, Dinesh D'Souza. We're going to be going in depth on it. We're going to review it really well and share what we know and maybe hopefully even get you a link to watch it yourself. And with that being said, I think it's time to wrap up today's show, isn't it?
Agreed. Yeah, we're at 50 something minutes, so or almost
Okay,
50. Yeah, that's good enough for now.
absolutely.
I'm
So
exhausted.
thanks for joining us with Everyday Talks with Aiko and Psycho. And
Yeah,
we look forward to seeing you either Wednesday or Thursday. We'll try to get a little notice out, let y'all know when we're getting ready to go live again.
absolutely. So catch you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys for watching, and see you
See
in
you
the
on the
next
flip
episode.
side.